Hello there, and welcome to MarketSquare. My name is Oluwak Pelubi Awe, and I'm glad you joined in tonight. Tonight, let's start with some good news, and we'll start by talking about the fact that Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have hit its highest level since March 28, 2024. Taking the latest data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the reserves now stand at $33.58 billion as of June 19, 2024, from $32.11 billion in April 2024. On the screen, you have a kind of a graphical representation of what I've just said. You have April 29th. You see how the graph went from what it was. The line went from what it was to what it is, and to tell you how that more has come into the country in the last couple of weeks. This is such a significant financial milestone and a big win for the federal government of Nigeria, for the Nigerian people, and the Central Bank of Nigeria. If you recall, during the 295th Monetary Policy Committee meeting, it was agreed that there was a need to intensify efforts to marginally increase external reserve balance between March 2024 and April 2024. Every time you hear that the central bank is going to have the monetary policy committee meeting, there is a tendency for you to be afraid because you're skeptical about if they would increase the monetary policy rate again, like they have done in the first two meetings that they had this year. The last time there was a significant achievement like this year was at the end of March 2024, when the Nigerian foreign exchange reserve hit $33.83 billion. $33.83 billion. Now, just after that increase, a decline started happening, noticeably in April, which sparked concerns about the nation's financial stability. And this data shows that in the last 2 months of the year 2024, that's like saying June and May, the reserve has increased by 5%, or to say it has increased by $1.47 billion since the last time that there was an increase. And noticeably so far in June 2024, there has been a gradual upward trend in the terms of exchange rate stability. We've seen that the exchange rate so far has averaged around 1,481 naira per dollar this month of June. If you were maybe up to date as at March, maybe February, March, you must have experienced a time when $1 exchanged for almost around 2,000 naira. Almost around 2,000 naira as at February and also in March. And that made the Monetary Policy Committee to initiate a no going back inflation reducing move, where they had to increase the monetary policy rate even higher, increase it over 400 basis points, which has brought the level of stability that our naira has now compared to dollar, and it's quite an improvement, isn't it? Now, this growth represents a substantial boost for the country's external reserves as the central bank continues to implement policies that will attract forex liquidity. Now, the idea about having increased foreign exchange reserve is that it means that people now trust your country. It means that you have more money coming in. It means that people are not sending their money out of the country anymore. And it speaks about what the central bank has done so far so good in stabilizing the naira. Now, it is quite impressive to see that the CBN pushed towards doubling the diaspora remittance inflow this year so far to ensure that there is a steady flow of foreign exchange into the country is beginning to yield more fruit. Now, with the increase in foreign exchange reserve, Nigeria has a cushion to now pay for imports. And even if export earnings fall, Nigeria now has more money to pay. Because what happens is when people find it difficult to get dollar in the country, what they do, they turn to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Central Bank is that body that ensures that there is access to foreign currency. And the fact that we now have more in our coffer means that people now will now have more money, more access to get more money from the Central Bank of Nigeria in terms of foreign currencies to make transaction happen for ourselves. So, for instance, this is important for people who want to purchase some essential goods outside the country, for instance, maybe some medicine, because at the moment, we don't depend solely on our medical space sector here. We pretty much seem to want to import some of the top drugs that are used to cure certain things here. So to be able to purchase medicine, you need most times to use foreign currencies to make that transaction happen. And just in case somebody wants to travel out of the country, for instance, access to foreign currency makes that even easier to most times. And then also, if you want to import machinery, because we're not just doing an economy by ourselves, we relate with the world, and to be able to buy stuff outside the country. Just in case somebody wants to buy stuff outside the country, for instance, maybe a machinery, for instance, what that would do is it makes it a lot easier to make that transaction happen. And maybe there are certain food products that would need to be gotten. The fact that we have foreign exchange in our country, we have so much in our coffer, it means that we won't find it difficult to take from there to make transaction happen. The CBN can use the FX reserve to also intervene in the foreign exchange market to stabilize the economy. And what the government would do in that regard is to be able to supply some level of some dollars into the country. So if you have it that the higher the demand for a particular thing, the higher the cost of getting it. Yeah. So when the central bank feels that, okay, it looks like dollar is beginning to gain more momentum, beginning to gain more than is appreciating on a very large scale, very speedy scale, than now the government can do is take money from its coffer, the reserve, and then put money in the economy through the banks, through the Bureau of Changes, through the IMTOs to make transaction happen in the country. Now, also it helps to stabilize the exchange rate of naira, and it makes it easier for businesses to import and export. Some businesses, the major part of their business has to do with importing things, importing machineries, importing goods, importing foodstuffs, importing some equipment used in the medical line. And that access to that will only make access to foreign exchange, access to foreign currency will only help to make that even easier. Now, a stronger FX reserve position the government to improve investor confidence in the Nigerian economy, potentially leading to more foreign investment in the country. When the government has more money in its coffer, more foreign currency in its coffer, what that does to the government is that it helps them to project some level of confidence, and it just helps to grow the confidence of investors in the country. And so far, so good. Nigeria has been able to hit one of its highest figure since March 2024 this year. An amazing feat that the CBN has been able to achieve, and a good one for Nigeria as well. Now, let's now do the numbers. Share index enjoyed a rise of 0.17% to 99,385.44 points from 0.09% at 99,217.60 points at the close of market on Tuesday in the month of June 2024. Now, this gain increase will cause about investors' wealth to grow by 94.95 billion naira as market capitalization closed at 56.22 trillion naira, and year-to-date return stood at 32.91%. The total volume traded declined by 23.57% to close at 276.36 million, value at 4.12 billion naira, and traded in about 7,497 deals that day. Now, MarketSquare was the most traded stock by volume and value, with 45.34 million units traded at 859.40 million naira. MarketSquare was the most traded in volume, contributing about 16.40%, while ICO and GTCO followed behind that. The value chart shows that MarketSquare contributed the most with a 20.86% share. GTCO and MTN followed closely behind. Now, still speaking on the exchange rate space, still speaking on the all-share index space there, Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, NGX, has announced the launch of NGX Invest, which is a cutting-edge web application designed to transform the primary market equity capital raising process. Now, this is specifically a public offer and has public offer and rights issues. This innovative platform aims to be able to enhance efficiency and ensure regulatory compliance for all stakeholders in the capital market. Just to let you know that this was launched yesterday, the 26th of June, 2024. The NGX Invest was launched yesterday, the 26th of June, 2024. On the foreign exchange market, the NatFest rate depreciated by 0.31% from 1,488.06 naira per dollar to 1,492.71 naira per dollar. And the Beirut exchange rate also depreciated slightly by 0.27% from 1,484 naira per dollar to 1,488 naira per dollar. It's only expected that in the coming days, we should see a depreciation, we should see an appreciation rather in the value of the Nigerian naira, given some reforms made by the CBN so far, and it's expected that that would also increase. And later in the month of July, there would be another MPC meeting, and most likely a move there will cause about the increase in the appreciation of the Nigerian naira. They say data is the new oil, but I doubt it. I think tomatoes is the new oil. Do I have a weakness out there? Let's join MarketSquare reporter Olaito Babatunde as she talks about the happenings in the market, but this time around with strict respect to tomatoes. Olaito Babatunde, over to you.
Thank you, Palumi. We went to the market today to price peppers and tomatoes, and we were shocked at the prices. We asked the vendor why the prices had increased so much. They explained that there were two reasons. First, the cost of petrol had gone up, which makes it more expensive to transport goods from the north. Second, there are fewer farmers cultivating peppers and tomatoes because some have been tragically killed while working their farms. This has reduced production, and the remaining farmers who are taking the risks are charging higher prices. Olaito Babatunde reporting for Veegil Media.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, has said that inflationary pressure has started dropping as a result of the central bank's policy measures since he got into office in the year 2023. Mr. Cardoso made this disclosure during an interview with Bloomberg TV on Tuesday in London. And if you saw clips from that interview, it was a 20-minute interview, and it made some profound points there. I'm going to point those things out to you now. We have videos to also show you, so don't go anywhere. Now, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso pointed to the fact that the country recorded a total foreign exchange inflow of about $24 billion in the first quarter of 2024, which is about 50% above the inflows recorded in previous quarters up to year 2021. During this interview with Bloomberg TV, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso declared that the worst days of the Nigerian naira in terms of volatility were over. Now, according to data from the FMDQ Securities Exchange, in the last 1 month, the naira has stabilized and has been trading in a narrow range between 1,473 naira per dollar to 1,490 naira per dollar. Although some people have asked that the government should peg the exchange rate because you pretty much cannot allow the forces of demand and supply to dictate what value your currency will stay on. You really cannot leave that to the market forces. There could be manipulations there. And so there have been calls for that to happen. Because even with respect to the custom duties have also changed. I think I saw in the news yesterday or this morning how that the custom duties has changed over the last, because it follows the routine of the increase or decrease in the value of the Nigerian currency. Now, I wanted to listen to the CBN Governor speaking about the fact that the worst days of the Nigerian naira are over. Over to you, Paul.
We're relatively pleased with how far we've gotten up till now. In the past 2-3 weeks, after a period of volatility, we've seen a lot of stability within the market. There's hardly been any movement in the currency.
Right.
The rates have been merged. In the past, you had 2 different rates. Right now, more or less have 1 rate. Okay. And we believe that this is good. It allows companies to plan. And again, it gives an idea of where the potential road of travel is for people who are investing in our economy. So I'm relatively pleased with where we are. We don't believe that we've got into the position we want to stay at. It's continuous work in progress. And we will do everything possible to ensure that we continue to manage the macroeconomic fundamentals that affect that market. I do believe that we have more or less seen the worst in terms of volatility. I believe we've seen the worst in volatility. We are happy that the market is now such that willing buyer and willing seller operate within the market. We are also very alive to observing the way and manner in which that market operates and ensuring that it gives the best value that can be accomplished using certain tools. It's also important to mention, though, that the monetary and fiscal work closely together.
Right.
So I would only be giving you one picture if I said, the monetary does that, or the monetary does something else. But they work very closely together. And I believe that that complementarity is what will give us the optimum rate for the naira over a period of time.
The next Monetary Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for July 22nd to July 23rd, 2024. And we know what happened in the first 2 meetings of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting and how those basic points were raised. Now, every business owner who is doing business with in this Nigerian space must have paid close attention to the outcome of the meetings that the Monetary Policy Committee had, the first 2 meetings in year 2024, and how that the basis points were raised as an aftermath of the meeting. Yeah. So what should we expect in the next meeting happening from the 22nd of July to 23rd in July 2024? Should we expect an increase in the monetary policy rate again, like we saw the last time? Well, the CBN Governor was asked if the Monetary Policy Committee will, in the coming days after their meeting, increase the MPR again, like they did in the first 2 meetings of the year. And I know you are yawning to hear his response, and it probably will shock you to get to know what he said. Listen to what he said to that.
The MPC has been very clear in stating that they see inflation as a major impediment for the future of Nigeria. And we'll do everything possible to ensure that they keep inflation in check and, in fact, bring it down, okay, as reasonably as they can. So I don't see that changing. So far from what we're seeing, there's a deceleration in inflation rates, okay, which is good news. And my sense is that with the measures that have been taken in the recent past, and with the confidence of the MPC members to watch that interest rate trajectory very closely, we should see a continuation of the moderation in inflation. Well, numbers driven. We do need to see what the numbers say, but like I have said, it's moderating. The recent numbers that came out show a moderation in inflation, and MPC will do whatever it needs to do to ensure that inflation is kept in check.
I know you heard him say that they will do whatever is necessary to stabilize the economy. They will do what is necessary to cut down inflation figures as much as possible. And he didn't quite come out to say this is what we're going to do. But it looks like if they weigh the situation on ground, they may again increase the basis points. But as an economist, do I see the government, do I see the MPC raising the basis points again? I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. If you look at the progression in the figures, you'll notice a decrease in the speed. So in economics, there's also something called creeping inflation, something also called hyperinflation. And what we saw at the early phase of the year was hyperinflation, when the cost of things went up, right? Now, what we have seen from April to May to June, as we go into July, is that the only thing that seems to be increasing in price is the price of food, isn't that? The price of food. So the difference in the figures has actually reduced. If you compare the figures early in the year to what we have at the moment, you will realize that there has been improvement in the state of things in the country. So personally, I do not think that the Monetary Policy Committee would increase the basis points again, because every time it gets close to that meeting, what happens is that people stop investing. The investors tend to chill to hear the outcome of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting to know what move they have to make next. And I think so far we've seen some stability in terms of inflation figures, and that can only improve going forward. And just like someone said, that the quality of life is measured by the affordability of basic necessities of life. And talk about securities of life, talk about property, talk about ability to be able to get at least 2 meals a day. The quality of life is measured by all of that. And for many Nigerians who are not even economists, they don't even know about the policies, as this policy reflected in the way of life of the people. As these policies that we have implemented so far, have we seen the impact of this policy on the life of Nigerians? Most likely, no. It looks like a long-term thing, but I think on the short-term thing, the CBN has to be considerate in its next Monetary Policy Committee meeting with respect to how they intend to raise the basis point and what they intend to do going forward. There's still hunger in the land. People are still not fine. There is still unemployment in the country. But I know for sure that the monetary policies don't fix things in the economy alone. You need fiscal policies to do its own part, play its part in the scheme of things. On the show today, I have mentioned to you about the fact that Nigeria foreign reserve has increased and hit its highest since March 2024. I also showed you a video of the happenings in the market, and that was done by a MarketSquare reporter or light of about today. And I also mentioned to you about some words and some things said by the CBN Governor with respect to the fact that the worst days of Naira are over, and also that the tendency for the Monetary Policy Committee to do what is necessary to bring down the inflation rates to what is acceptable is high. Well, it's been an incredible time having you join me on the show today. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube, on LinkedIn, even on TikTok, and to get updates every time we post any of our videos.